Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to look at the last deck from Planar Chaos, which is the black and red deck Unravelling Mind. So let's dive in and look at that. So, 28 creatures, 6 instants, 2 sorceries, 24 land, mana curve off to the side there. Let's start looking at this deck. So, what's this deck doing? So, really interestingly, it's using Madness, the Madness mechanic, which was introduced way back in Torment. But the thing is, there was only like 8 cards that had Madness, and it was oh no, maybe 10 because there was 2 each color. Yeah, whereas in Time Spiral and Planar Chaos, which is like the absolute nostalgia love letter set to weird old mechanics. It was almost exclusively in black and red. It was like that, I guess you could say, draft archetype. This is years before draft archetypes are a thing, but it was definitely showing up in black and red. And this deck uses it, I think, really, really well. So let's start talking about these cards. So Madness, actually, before we get into it, just in case you are new to the game, Madness is basically appears on all sorts of cards. And if you would ever discard that card, like maybe your opponent makes you discard it, or more likely you will discard it to an effect you've got, you can, instead of discarding the card to your graveyard, you can pay the Madness cost and still play that spell, like still get it. So if it's a creature and you discard it and you play the Madness cost, you still like play the creature, which means sometimes you can play spells at times you wouldn't normally be able to. Like if you, for example, Big Game Hunter here, so 1 colors and 2 black for a 1/1. He's got Madness for a single black, which means if you discard him at, say, instant speed, discard him during an opponent's turn, you can cast him, which normally you wouldn't be able to do. So big Game Hunter, when he comes into play, destroy a creature with power 4 or greater, and it can't be regenerated, and has Madness for a single black. So yeah, pretty good card, I think, to start things off. 2 Brain Gorges. So 3 cards in the black, 4/2. When you play Brain Gorges, any player may sacrifice a creature, and if a player does, you counter Brain Gorges. It has Madness for 1 card and 1 black. So you can get this for only 2 mana. A 4/2 is really, really good. So it has this kind of weird effect where your opponent can obviously sacrifice a creature to deny you the creature, which is okay, I guess. In a weird way, it's a kind of then very expensive like kill spell, forcing an opponent to sacrifice a creature. But I think you can get this for 2 mana. That's really good, because even if they sacrifice something in response to it, if you're playing it for its Madness cost, it's basically then Diabolic Edict, which is fine at 2 mana. So yeah, Brain Gorges I think is okay, but I think only if you play it for the Madness cost. Otherwise, I think it's a little overcosted and a bit risky to play. 2 Gorgon Recluse, 3 colors and 2 black for a 2/4. Whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by a non-black creature, you destroy that creature end of combat. So kind of like just bad death touch. But it has Madness as well for double black. So you could, play this potentially at instant speed into combat as a surprise blocker. Yeah, that'd be fine. And 2 Muckdrub. So 3 colors and 2 black for a 3/3 with flash. When it comes into play, change the target of target spell that targets only a single creature to Muckdrub, and it has Madness for 2 colors and a black. So if your opponent is targeting one of your stuff with a kill spell, you can play Muckdrub, and like he sort of jumps in the way, be like, "No, I'll take the bullet for you." Alternatively, you can use this. Your opponent is targeting one of their things with a buff spell or an aura or something. You can throw in Muckdrub and redirect it that way. So yeah, pretty fun little card, honestly, and like, yeah, definitely not an effect that black really ever gets, like redirecting spells. This is why I really like Planar Chaos. I've said it before in the previous ones, but just really like these cards where colors are given abilities they don't normally have. I just think it just leads to really interesting design. We have 2 Nightshade Assassins, 2 colors and 2 black for a 2/1 with first strike. When it comes into play, you can reveal X black cards in your hand. If you do, gives a creature -X/-X on turn. It has Madness for 1 color and 1 black. I feel like you want to play this again for Madness cost. Getting a 2/1 first strike down for only 2 mana is really, really good. Revealing cards from your hand is typically not great. You don't really want to like reveal to your opponent what you've got, but Yeah, if this lets you kill like an X1 or an X2, I think that's fine. Just reveal a couple of cards. Obviously, more difficult to do as well in this deck because it's being dual colored, so you'll probably have like some red cards as well. So you can't necessarily always guarantee you'll get like a big effect off this. But yeah, I think I say paying it for madness and just getting a 2/1 first strike. I think that's the yeah, that's the goal. And if it also kills something, then fine. Two Reckless Worms, so this is a color shifted version of Arrogant Worm from Odyssey block. So 3 colors and 2 red, 4/4 trample, but there's madness for 2 colors and a red. So you can get down for 3 mana. Again, you're like, yeah, you're laughing, honestly, just getting a 4/4 trample down for 3 mana. Really, really good. So one of your madness enablers is Mindlash Sliver. So 1 black mana for a 1/1. All slivers have 1, sacrifice this creature, each player discards a card. So for you, this is nothing but upside because you have so many madness cards, and obviously it's making your opponent discard. The fact it can be done at instant speed is actually like a really big deal. Like we typically don't get instant speed discard. So yeah, Mind Lash is really good. I mean, the one downside obviously it has to sacrifice itself, but it's fine. It's fine. It's a discard outlet. So another discard outlet is Ridged Kusite, 1 black mana for a 1/1, a horror spell shaper, 1 color, 1 black, tap, discard a card, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike till end of turn. I've tried to be so good with Time Spiral block cards and not like referring the references, because like so many of these cards are references to older cards or like kind of like in jokes in the game. This is another one of my favorites. So, very quickly, Ridged Kusite is is an anagram of Guided Strike, which is the spell that it's doing. It's a like an old white combat trick, and it gives +1/+0 on first strike until end of turn. And on the artwork of Guided Strike, there's like a normal human soldier fighting like this creature, like this weird bug-eyed creature. So yeah, just a real real perfect storm of just really weird references and stuff. But yeah, and also this is another thing in Planar Chaos, like colors getting keywords they don't normally have. So a lot of black spells in Planar Chaos give or have like first strike, which is really cool. But yeah, so it's another discard outlet. Anyway, yeah, enough tangent about artwork and references. So you have 2 Phantasmagorians. So this is another like big madness enabler. So 5 colors and 2 black. For a 6/6. When you play it, any player can discard 3 cards, and if a player does, counter Phantasmagorian. So you can counter it yourself if you've got 3 madness cards in your hand, and you've just spent 7 mana to cast this and be like, right, and now I'm going to discard 3 madness cards. But while it's in your graveyard, you can also discard 3 cards to get it back to your hand. So again, if you've got it in your graveyard and you've got 3 madness cards in hand, you can discard those 3, and then that's another discard outlet for you. It has to be exactly 3. It can't be up to 3. So yeah. So it takes a bit of work for it to pay off. I think, but yeah, I think it's okay. Trespasser or Vec is a lot more straightforward. It's just 2 cards and a black for a 3/1. You discard a card to give it shadow until end of turn, and that's just a lot more straightforward. That's going to be a lot easier to enable your madness. It costs no mana, doesn't need to tap or anything, so you can do it multiple times in a turn. And as an upside, you're giving him shadow, which makes him much more difficult to block. We also have 3 Undertakers, so this is a great time shifted card. So 1 color, 1 black for a 1/1 spell shaper. Pay 1 black, tap, discard a card, and you do Raise Dead. This is great in this deck. So not only is it like a really good discard outlet, but you're also getting back like your important madness creatures, not madness creatures, but just important creatures in general. So yeah, this goes so well. I'm so happy there's 3 of them in here. We have a single Doughty Slayer, just 2 black mana for a 2/2 with Shadow, has to attack every turn if able. This is okay. This kind of feels like it's just filling space, but it's still good. It's still like a really aggressively costed creature, very hard to deal with. It's basically unblockable. Yeah, that's fine. So let's talk about the 2 rares in the deck. So one of the rares is Miri the Cursed. So this is Miri, the cat warrior from the alternate timeline where where she became a vampire instead of Krovax. I think it's something like that. The story, like, go and check out like the Planar Chaos like stories. It's like really good, like the lore behind it and how some of these legendary creatures became the versions they are here. It's really fun. So 2 colours and 2 black for a 3/2 with flying, first strike, and haste. So that, I mean, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck there with 4 mana. And whenever Miri the Curse deals combat damage to a creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on her. So yeah, she's honestly pretty good. Just coming down as like a 3/2 flyer with haste for 4 is really, really good. I wouldn't even really worry about that +1/+1 counter ability. It's just honestly coming down as a really good evasive aggressive creature is great. Also, Vampire Cat. How can you not love Vampire Cat? So the other rare is Magus for the Arena. So this guy I don't think is as good. I don't think he fits in the deck. So 4 colours and 2 red for 5/5. I mean, so he's obviously like a decent size anyway. So 3 tap target creature you control and target creature and opponent target creature of an opponent's choice that they control. Each of those creatures deal damage equal to their power to the other. So it's basically 2 creatures fight. Because this guy is because we're not talking about the Magi. Of course, they've not shown up in any decks yet. So one of the some of the cycles that Time Spiral Block is really known for is all these Magi, who are all these wizards who refer to old like artifacts and lands and stuff from previous sets. So in Time Spiral, all the Magi refer to artifacts. In Planar Chaos, they all refer to lands. So this one is referencing the Arena, which was, I think it was like a promo exclusive, like back in '97 or something. Like it wasn't in a certain set. Like you had to like mail away for it. So it's a really, really obscure reference. And then in Future Sight, I think they all refer to enchantments. And then it's been carried on in, I think, supplementary sets like the Commander sets. Then you have the Magi of like really powerful sorceries and stuff. So I really like the Magi. I think the Magi are like big fan favorite cards, just because it's so fun to see what they reference. But yeah, going back to this guy, I think he's okay. Like 6 mana for a 5/5. I mean, you could just use him just for that ability. Yeah, just for those stats even. But his ability is okay as well to pay 3 and 2 creatures fight. It's a shame. I mean, it's a shame you can't choose the opponent's creature. But I think then that'd be way, way too good. But yeah, I think this is okay. I think it's okay, and it's still tapping down stuff. So even if your opponent's creature kills yours, at least it's tapped. I suppose. I don't know. It's okay. I don't think he really belongs in this deck, personally. It just feels a bit out of place. Anyway. And then a whole bunch of time-shifted cards. So we have a single Browbeat. I really like Browbeat. Browbeat is one of my favourite red cards. 2 cards and a red. Admittedly, your opponent has a choice in how it works. But the choices are so good. It's fine. Because it's either 5 damage to a player, or you draw 3 cards, and those effects are really good for only 3 mana. So yeah, I don't mind Browbeat giving an opponent a choice how it works. A single Fiery Temper. Actually, kind of wish there'd been more than one Fiery Temper here. 1 colours and 2 red. Does 3 damage to target creature or player, and has Madness for a single red. So for Madness, it's basically Lightning Bolt. And then a single Disintegrate, which is an X spell, and if it kills a creature, they get exiled. Yeah, I kind of wish this had just been another Fiery Temper, honestly. And then 2 Lightning Axe. So this is kind of in the same vein as Fiery Temper, really. Or actually, no, it enables Fiery Temper, I was going to say. So 1 red mana. As additional cost to cast Lightning Axe, discard a card or pay 5, and does 5 damage to a creature. So this is like another good like Madness enabler. And it's so good, actually. It was in not the first Innistrad set, the other one, Shadows over Innistrad, where Madness came back as a mechanic. So yeah, this obviously helps you with your Madness cards, because you do Lightning Axe for a single red mana, you kill an opponent's creature, and also you get to cast one of your spells for a reduced cost. So yeah, super good. Dark Withering. It's either a very expensive kill spell or it's an incredibly cheap kill spell. There is no in between with Dark Withering. It is either 6 mana or 1 mana. At 6 mana, it is way too expensive. At 1 black mana, it is an absolute steal. So yeah, definitely one you want to try and cast for its madness cost. Single core dirge, 2 colors and 1 black. It's another one of these black like redirect spells, which is really cool. This is a color shifted version of core chant, I think. So all damage that would be dealt this turn to target creature you control is by a source of your choice is dealt to another target creature instead. So just bounces damage from your creature onto another creature, which is like a really fun effect to have in black. Like no one expects it. Yeah, just a good card to have, I think. And then a single treacherous urge. I really like this card, honestly. So 4 cards and a black. Target opponent reveals their hand. You can take a creature card from it straight into play under your control, and it has haste, and then it dies at end of turn. So yeah, there is a chance you just completely whiff with this, like your opponent has like no creatures in their hand, but if they do, like you're gaining their creature and you're killing it and you're getting like a use out of it before it dies. Yeah, potentially very swingy. So yeah, I like Treacherous Urge. Especially if there's a way you can like see your opponent's hand before casting it, then yeah, obviously then it's super good. But yeah, I like it. Obviously a bit of a gamble to take at 5 mana, but yeah, I think it's still good. And then 3 Terramorphic Expanse, which is great because you're in a dual color deck, and this helps you fix your mana. So what could have been? So I think this deck's really good. Actually, I think it is. There are maybe a few duff cards, but overall, I think it's like really tightly. It's really tightly focused on its theme of of using madness. Like you're discarding cards and you're using your madness cards, and that's just perfect. I think. Maybe a few choices we could have made instead here. So Call to the Netherworld is Raise Dead with Madness for 0. And it only gets black creatures back. But I think that'd be good. Especially when you're discarding cards a lot, which will include your creatures, you can use Call to the Netherworld to get them straight back. That would have been, I think, a fine card to have. Smallpox is a fun card, double black. Basically, every player loses 1 life, discards a card, sacrifices a creature, and I can't remember what all the effects are. I've covered them up, but you basically and you sacrifice a land as well. So it is like this big symmetrical effect, but obviously you get the benefit of discarding a card because it will be a madness card. So yeah. Urborg Siphon Mage I thought could have been another good spell shaper to have. So it's you pay a cost, I think it's 2 and a black, and you discard a card, and it makes each opponent lose 2 life, and you gain life equal to the amount lost that way. So I really like there's 3 Undertakers in here, don't get me wrong, but like maybe you could have had an Urborg Siphon Mage in here as well, just to gain some life. Yeah, that wouldn't have hurt, but I'm really happy there's 3 Undertakers. And then alternate res. So I think Miri is okay. Just for being a very fast, aggressive creature, which plays in well to the deck. But I say the Magus of the Arena, I think is not so great. I think instead of Magus of the Arena, either Null Profusion, which is 4 colors and 2 black for an enchantment, where you skip your draw step. Whenever you play a card, you draw a card, and your maximum hand size is 2. I think this could have been really interesting. This is a color shifted version of Recycle, which is a green enchantment from Tempest. This could have worked. You're casting like quite a lot of spells, and this is the thing. Your maximum hand size is 2. You play this when you've got a hand of madness spells. You have to discard down to 2 at the end of your turn. What a great chance to play all your madness spells, and as you're discarding them to get down to your hand size of 2. I mean, that could have been fun. Or Torchling. Torchling is just another like kind of good aggressive creature. 5 mana for 3/3, and it just has like a bunch of like these Morphling-esque abilities. Where it can untap itself, or it can force something to block it, or you change the target of a spell to target itself, or it can increase its power toughness. I think that would have been kind of fun. Maybe instead, I say Magus the Arena, I think is just a bit too slow and dirtly for this deck. So I think it is meant to be play very fast and aggressively, because that's the whole point of Madness, is you're playing your cards for as cheap as cost as possible. So yeah, I really like this deck actually. I remember picking it up at the time and playing it and thinking like this is pretty good, but I've got a new appreciation it for now, like after reviewing it. But yeah, so I think this is pretty good. I would say this is probably like my joint favourite, along with Endless March, which was the first Planar Chaos one we looked at, the red-white one. But what are your thoughts on the deck after seeing the deck list? Did you have this deck, or if you got any thoughts or opinions or stories about the deck, stick a comment below and I'll read them. But we are now done with Planar Chaos, which is a shame because it's one of my favourite sets and I really like talking about it, as you've probably gathered. But we're going to move on to the last set of Time Spiral Block, which is Future Sight. And yeah, well, we'll pick up on that on the next video. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.